Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Thursday, March the 3rd. I'm Gary Stevens. First Thursday of the month, our 10:30 segment. We spotlight Allegan County law enforcement with Sheriff Frank Baker. He joins us from the Allegan County Sheriff's Department headquarters in the city of Allegan via the Zoom connection. Frank, good morning and welcome back to WHTC.
Good morning, Gary.
Glad you are with us. If you have a question about Allegan County law enforcement, the sheriff is in town and he'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. One of the stories, Frank, that I've been running this morning comes from Lansing. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is focusing on getting potholes repaired faster, issuing an executive director to have the State Department of Transportation use all available resources to expedite the repairs, including contractors and overtime pay. Yeah, pothole season is underway, and I'm afraid not just motorists, but even sheriff's deputies need to be aware of those situations too.
That's for sure. It's one of those things that, during what we always affectionately call pothole season, it's hard to avoid them. I know I was driving through a private drive into a grocery store where I live, and I saw one that I think if somebody would have fallen into it, they may have been stuck. It was so deep. But this time of year is a challenge, and we want our motorists to be safe. And we have a few tips. If you want to talk about that, Gary, we can talk about some of the things that we recommend.
Go right ahead.
All right. One of the things that we want to recommend to you is that, number one, make sure your tires are inflated properly. If you hit a pothole and your tire isn't inflated properly, there's a good chance you're actually going to damage your wheel or your rim, and which could lead to more problems, more expense. So we want to make sure you got your tires properly inflated. The other thing we want you to do is slow down when you see what you think might be a mud puddle. Good chance that mud puddle may have a pothole underneath, and it may just be filled with water. And you don't need that surprise when you realize that it's not just going to be a splash, but it's going to be a crash. So we definitely want you to look out for the mud puddles, and make sure that if you do go through one, do so slowly and hold on tight to the steering wheel. In the event that you do hit a pothole, it could jerk the wheel from you, and you want to make sure you maintain control of your vehicle. The other thing is to leave a little extra distance between you and the car in front of you. I know through the winter months, we always tell you that, but this time of year, even though the roads may be dry, they may be just wet, they may not be slippery. But the thing is, if you can leave a little extra distance, that car in front of you may swerve to miss a pothole. It'll give you a chance to see it, react to it, and make sure that you can avoid it as well. So those are just a couple of the few things we want to tell you. Also, if you do find yourself, unfortunately, hitting one, don't succumb to the urge to just hit the brake hard right when you hit it, because what's going to happen is it's going to dive the nose of your vehicle down even harder. It could even create more damage or more problems for you. So those are a few ideas that we have and we recommend for when you're driving this time of year.
The other thing, too, and maybe not so much of a problem now, but we were talking about a few years ago dealing with erosion on shoreline roads and, just blocking that off. And I don't know whether or not this time of year might be an issue with that, or is it more of a case of we have high water, then we might have some road erosion?
Yeah, that's always been typically the issue the last few years, is when the water was high. That was when it was creating more of the erosion issues. Hopefully it seems to have stabilized, and the road commission has done a great job of working on those specific areas that were either washing out or had to be closed altogether because of the erosion that occurred a couple of years ago when we had all that high water on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, and the other thing too is let's hope we don't have to worry about sinkholes.
For sure. We got enough other issues without that.
You got that right. Frank, before you turn the monitor over to Sheriff's Lieutenant Charity Cummins, I do want to ask you about a situation, not specifically about the situation, but what Allegan County would do if a similar situation occurred. And I'm talking about a medical situation at the jail, which led to the death of an inmate up in Ottawa County. I'm not asking you to comment on that situation, but what is the standard protocol if we do find a situation where one of the inmates takes ill under your custody at the Allegan County Jail maybe succumbs from the ailment. What protocols are in place for that type of situation, Frank?
Well, we do have jail medical staff. Unfortunately, we're not able to have them here 24/7, but for a good part of the day, we do have jail medical staff here, which is nursing care so that we can have an immediate response from someone who is a nurse. And then beyond that, if it's something that appears to be more of a concern, more life-threatening, then we would call an ambulance right here to the jail and then have the ambulance take the person to Allegan General Hospital here in town. And then we would just escort the person if they're in custody here with one of our correctional staff, and then make arrangements for someone to be there while that person is in the hospital or receiving some type of care.
And of course, in a situation such as what happened in Ottawa County, the state police would be coming in to take care of the investigation.
It depends on what happens and to whatever we believe occurred. If it's something that we don't know, what happened. If let's say it's somebody that has an injury that they came in with, and we know that maybe it needs to be treated, we wouldn't have an investigation into that. But if there was some type of an assault or something that occurred, that someone was injured, then that would be investigated either by us, or if we were involved in it, then it might be something we would request an outside agency to look into for us.
All right. I just wanted to bring up that situation. What would be the standard protocol in the Allegan County Jail if a situation would occur in that regard? We've had good chance in the past to chat with Allegan County Sheriff's Lieutenant Charity Cummins in the past, talking about corrections matters, and Charity now joins us in the Zoom connection. Charity, good to see you once again. And next Thursday is the beginning or the 2-year mark of Stay Home, Stay Safe in Michigan, the COVID-19 outbreak really taking hold in our state. So 2 years on, it looks as if some of the jail inmate programs about ready to be resumed after maybe a 2-year-long break.
Yes, hi, Gary. So we are working with the health department real closely to work on a system in order to open up some of the programming that's been restricted due to COVID. We have great programming here, and we've been doing it either minimal or some of them have been suspended. So we're looking forward to being able to open it up and provide programming for inmates as well as the community.
What type of programming are we talking about there, Charity?
So we're looking at bringing back Forgotten Man Ministry so we can offer church again, AA, NA, doing some relapse prevention, which are substance abuse classes. Bringing back, we have work groups. So we have men and women work groups. So we're hoping to bring that back. That deals with anger management, deals with drug addiction, helps like financial needs. That teaches people how to be parents. Great programming. So we're definitely looking forward to getting things back up and running.
We do have a call, and I'll see if it's either for you or for the sheriff. Good morning. You're on the line.
Then what happens if somebody's underneath drugs and alcohol? Will you guys do that? I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. 616-395-1450. Dealing with substance abuse and inmates that come in with maybe a substance abuse situation. I'll say right now, probably you can't really make them go cold turkey because it's going to compound the problem even more. It's got to be a gradual weaning away from that situation because they can't have the drugs in their jail cell. No.
Correct. Yes, we do have medical see them. They will start them on their medical protocols, processes, and procedures. And then once they're in a good spot, then that's when we start to work with them in programming.
Yeah, and be honest with you, it is it's a time consuming thing. Not consuming, but it's a time deal because you can't it can't be done in an hour or 2 hours. It's going to be a several hour situation. I don't know whether or not you can answer this, Charity, because these programs were not running the way they normally run over the last 2 years. How much has it really hurt in terms of helping those who have been incarcerated try to turn their lives around? Can you sort of quantify it or qualify it as to, if we had this would have happened and all that, or is it just, well, it is what it is?
Yeah, I don't think I can answer that indefinite, but I can tell you one thing that our staff does a great job with, because programming is so important to us here at Allegan, is that we are constantly having conversations with the inmates. I'm trying to get input, talking them through the processes. Like, do you have a plan when you're, going to be released? We do offer programs outside of the facility. So sometimes it's just setting them up with resources on how to do that, how to connect with, having MRT classes, which is moral recognition therapy, which touches on changing their thought processes from the criminal thinking to non-criminal thinking, which includes substance abuse. So although they haven't received the intensive program, we still continue to work with them so that they're not just sitting here being warehoused. We still work with them to, hopefully produce a productive person of the community.
It's also a delicate balance situation, Charity, because you want a person who is incarcerated to still have contact with the family members, not leaving them out on an island deserted, to lack of a better term. But yet some of those influences sometimes are part of the reasons why they're behind bars in the first place. To me, it's a delicate balance between having that contact with family and friends, but also severing the contact if family or friends are part of the reason why they're behind bars.
I would agree. I think that's where MRT programming is so important, because it helps identify the good choices from the bad choices, including people, places, and things. So identifying the people as well as the places and the things that may not be beneficial to the individual. And it teaches them to identify those sooner before they both go down a bad road and end up back visiting us.
The other thing too, and maybe this is more Hollywood and fiction than actual reality. We have seen television shows, we have seen movies where people go behind bars and they're still running their criminal operations from behind bars. It's just, I don't know whether or not that's just dramatic, or do you find perhaps that you got to sort of cut the person off from the outside influences, because instead of having the outside influences, Charity, affect the inmate actually is affecting the outside influences. And am I talking really more of a dramatic thing than anything else? Or have you seen it where maybe somebody's running a crime ring from behind bars and maybe trying to do it on the sly?
I could tell you here, I have not seen that. I think if that does occur, it's going to be in your bigger cities where there's bigger of a population. You may see it more in your prisons where that's their lifestyle. They're usually there for a longer period of time. As for who the inmates choose to visit with, we don't restrict that. They can visit unless there's a bond condition where they can't have contact with a spouse or a parent. We don't restrict that time with them. But again, because we do focus so strongly on programs, we give them an opportunity for an out, not just what they know on the streets.
Frank, the Sheriff's Department, of course, has been out of the Allegan County Courthouse building for several years, and there's now a new security entrance at the courthouse. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, if you recall, if anyone's been to the courthouse, when we put security in, one of the things we had to do was use the existing building the way it was built, and we used a foyer that was on the west side of the building for security, which really wasn't built for that, wasn't designed for that. It was very crowded, very cramped. People would have to sometimes stand outside. And of course, if the weather is rainy, snowy, it's an inconvenience while they wait to go through security. Well, as a result of some of the reconstruction remodeling projects that went on last year, we now have a new security entrance into the building. It's kind of in the middle of the building now, and it allows for people to come inside to a much larger foyer. If we need to, we can queue people. But with the way that we've implemented some new processes, we have new equipment, we can get people through much faster. Before, we did not have an x-ray machine, so similar to what you would see at the airport or other courthouses where you can drop your bags, they can go through the x-ray machine and be scanned, as opposed to us having to actually physically look inside. It's going to speed things up. We're seeing that it has alleviated some of the waiting at the entrance to the courthouse, so we're excited about that. One of the big additions that it's very important to us is a new Sally port that's connected to the building. So now we can pull our cruisers, our transport vehicles into the building, into the Sally port, get the inmates that are appearing in court out, and then walk them through a secured area into the courtrooms, where before we had to park outside, take the inmate through the outside area, which is obviously less secure. There's more chances for problems, for things to occur. That's going to be a challenge for us in the community if we had escapes or things like that going on while we're walking people in and out of court. Well, now we have a secured way to do that. So we're excited about it. We think it's going to be safer for us, the community, for the people in the courthouse, and safer for ultimately the inmates themselves. So it's a good deal. We're happy about it, and we're looking forward to being able to better serve the community this way.
Let's see if we can get a couple of calls in. Good morning. You're on the line with Sheriff Frank Baker.
Yeah, I got two questions. Drugs and alcohol, you saw somebody that's driving, what do you guys do? Number two, how about the mentally ill? What do you guys do about the people that's got mental problems? Hang up and listen.
All right. Thank you very much for the call.
Yep.
All right. Now we got that straightened out.
One of the things that he mentioned that's important to us is mental health. Mental health is a big deal in the jails. And when the state closed a lot of the mental health hospitals, a lot of people ended up in jails because there just wasn't the resources out there available to them. So we do have jail medical staff that also deals with mental health issues. We have counselors on staff here to help with that and to help address those kinds of situations. And we actually have now a mental health court here in Allegan County. So when we identify someone who has mental health issues, we're not just rotating them in and out of the criminal justice system. We can get them the resources and the help they need to hopefully provide them with a deferral away from criminal justice and into the mental health field so that they can get the proper help that they need.
Let's get one more call before we're done with the segment. Good morning. You're on the line with Sheriff Frank Baker.
Morning. I know you're the sheriff of Allegan County. I got a question. I don't know if you can answer this or not. The lady that had the 3 children die when she ran her car into the pond, why is it coming out in the paper that she may have been under the influence of narcotics when they don't have blood work back?
Good question. Appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Franco, again, that's an Ottawa County situation, so maybe it's not fair for you to answer. But to be honest with you, that seems to be a case of that investigation hasn't been completed yet. And with the Freedom of Information Act deal, sometimes, you got to let things out because of the law when it's not done and completed yet.
Yeah, and I can't really comment on that specific investigation because it's not something that we're involved in. But I can tell you from my experience, when we do investigate crashes, you'll sometimes see in our news releases that alcohol may be involved, narcotics may be involved. And that's based upon other things that we have through our investigation besides just the blood work being back. If, let's say, we investigate a crash and we notice a strong odor of intoxicants from the individual, we may see, open containers of alcohol in the vehicle. We may talk to witnesses that said the person just left here and they were highly intoxicated. So there are things like that occur that lead us to believe that someone may be under the influence beyond just the toxicology, which is something we ultimately have to wait for in order to ultimately prove our case. But it's something that we can't release necessarily at that point in the investigation.
I wish we can go more into how your hands are tied when there's Freedom of Information Act request and all that. But that's going to be for another time. Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker, Sheriff's Lieutenant Charity Cummins, thank you very much for joining us on Talk of the Town. We'll talk to you next month.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.